back to all of our club members and a special warm welcome to all of our new club members. There are many of you who have joined our cohort this month, and one of the benefits of being in the club is that you get to try champagnes that are not readily available to the rest of Australia. And we again have 2 exclusive champagnes coming out to you this month, and we're looking at the idea of the 2020 vintage as a base wine. Now let me explain what this means. You've essentially got 2 different categories of champagne. A non-vintage, which is the majority of champagnes. We'll take a base, so from the 2020, the majority of the wine will be from that year's harvest, and we'll blend in previous year's vintages to give us more complexity, to give us more balance in the wine. And then we have a vintage, which is only released in a great year. Now, as it turns out, 2020 was a great year, and it caps off a trilogy of great years, 18, 19, and 20. It was really hot, it was really warm, it was very sunny in 2020, and in fact, the harvest started 2 weeks ahead of a 10-year average, so quite early, very robust, mature grapes, but still with the right level of freshness and acidity, and that's exactly what we want out of a vintage wine. But we are seeing the first of the non-vintages coming through from 2020, and we have 2 for you to look at. Coming out to all of our lovers is Alexander Bonnet. I love this house. I've had the pleasure of meeting the winemaker and being at the Maison before. It's located in a village called Le Rissy. And in actual fact, the village is so far south of the Champagne region, some 200 kilometers south of Reims, the heart of Champagne, that it's actually on the border of Burgundy. And if you go back through history, it did, as a region, change hands between Burgundy and Champagne, back to Burgundy, back to Champagne. The area and the way that it was domiciled changed quite sometimes, but it is now, as we say, firmly back in the Champagne appellation, and thank God, because it produces some of the most deep, juicy, ripe, vibrant Pinot Noir grapes. They have a beautiful hilly aspect. They have Kimmeridgian clay soil, and it's just a spectacular region for growing voluptuous Pinot Noir. Coming out to our Connoisseurs is another exclusive. It's the champagne from Nicolas Maillart. Nicolas Maillart is located in the Montagne de Reims. So Montagne de Reims, much further north. Le Rissy is down in the Côte de Bar, in the Orbe, further south. Very different climatic conditions, much warmer in the south, a little bit cooler in the north. Nicolas Maillart, wow, their history is incredible. So Nicolas Maillart, if you look back through the history books of the family, they're actually 9th generation at the moment, and that's extraordinary. Not many champagne houses can say this. They have record of the family growing grapes as early as 1703, and in actual fact, there's stories about the family growing grapes in the 1500s. Now, this was very much the domain of the Dominican monks, so well before champagne was commercialized in 1729. So super long history. Nicolas Maillart has won Champagne Noir of the Year, Winemaker of the Year. He's a really passionate winemaker. Small plots of vineyards, again specializing in Pinot Noir. The wine that's coming out to you is the Platine. So it is a blend, it's a Premier Cru blend. The wine that's coming out to all of our lovers is the Blanc de Noirs from Alexander Bonnet, wines from Rissy. And that is a very unique geological location down in the south of Champagne, very special. So the first cuvee that's coming out to all of our lovers this month, I think you'll be mightily impressed by this wine. I certainly enjoyed it immensely. Sometimes I put my nose in the glass and it just makes me happy. It just takes me right back to Champagne and why I love the wine, and this is an excellent example of why I love Champagne. Beautiful golden color, luminous wine, really vivacious bead with tiny, tiny bubbles, a lot of energy, and looks fantastic in this glass. Red fruit on the nose, cherry, some violet, beautiful earthy undertone, but on the palate, this is where everything just comes together for me. It is so silky, but so ample and generous, and got this beautiful mouthfeel and a lovely memory. So the footprint of the wine goes on and on and on. Everything is in balance. It's a Blanc de Noir featuring Pinot Noir from various parcels around Larissi, very steep slopes, beautiful aspect to the sun, Kimmeridgian limestone on the underfoot, on the subsoil, a very talented winemaker in Irvin Charpentier, and a great team. No pesticides, no herbicides, a really natural approach to the winemaking, and they have absolutely nailed this wine. It's an extra brut, it's less than 5 grams dosage, and it's for me, it's perfect. I love it. I'm very impressed with the wine. Coming out to our connoisseurs is a different cuvee, again specialising in Pinot Noir, but a slightly different wine. Okay, so coming out to our connoisseurs is Platine. It's a Premier Cru. Now, this is really interesting in terms of colour. The colour almost has a pink tinge to it. There's no fining, there's no filtration on this wine. The depth of colour is phenomenal. It's almost golden. Difference between the two wines, the Alexander Bonnet has been fermented for its primary fermentation, so the first fermentation, taking it from grape juice into white wine, stainless steel tank. Fermentation vessel here, oak barrel. This will have some impact on the colour of the wine, but not as much as you would expect. We've got a different composition of grapes, same 2020 base. We've got the addition of 19, 18 and 16 to blend in with the 2020 base. We have 62% Pinot Noir, 28% Chardonnay and 10% Pinot Meunier coming from the Montagne de Reims. So Platine coming out from Nicolas Maillart. Pinot Noir dominant. You've got almost a third Chardonnay and some Meunier, all in oak barrel. Now, I'm perplexed by this wine, but in a really good way. Sometimes I find that timber can be too overbearing on the wine, and it gives too much spice. It's not at all the case in this wine, and I'm really pleased about that. It has just the right amount of texture and spice and oomph to it. The wine on the palate is almost chewy and textural. It's got so many layers to it. On the nose, you've got this red berry, tart, patisserie note, almost with a herbal edge, a little bit of spice. There's a lot going on, but it's, I like the way it feels on the palate. It's really layered and textural. You know, you could really take your time sort of letting it sit, mulling it over, letting it sort of tell you its story. I'm still really intrigued by the colour. Of course, it's so deep compared to most champagnes. It's got such depth of colour. I love both wines. If I were food pairing, and both of them are quite big, they're quite bold. You're certainly leaning into that Pinot Noir dominance. You could partner both of them throughout the meal. I would be erring on the side of a beef with the Nicolas Maillart, and I'd be having a poulet, a chicken, something a little bit more softer, rounder, more delicate with the Alexander Bonnet, potentially a white fleshy fish, but the Nicolas Maillart, a Wagyu or something on the rarer side of beef. Both wines are exceptional. Both wines are very generous. You can see the warmth, the sunshine coming through from the 2020 base. More sunshine gives you more alcoholic volume, which gives you more character and a bigger story to tell. And both champagnes are amazing. I think you'll love them both. Really, if you are not at connoisseur level, you should join to connoisseur level. This is the best way to experience the club, to look at both champagnes side by side. But I hope you enjoy them both this month. It's been another fabulous edition, and we've got another exclusive coming to you from our freshly arrived container next month, and we'll see you then.